Hey guys, I recently got into rhinestone making and wanted to share with you guys how I made my personalized skinny tumblers for my friends and family. I didn't record the process of me sanding down the tumbler and washing it off, but it was very dusty. So I recommend to wear a proper mask when sanding and doing it outside. Instead of using spray paint, I wanted to try the paint method. So I applied a couple coats of the pink acrylic paint and waited for it to fully dry. I sprayed a layer of matte finish gloss over it. Then I left it for another couple days to dry, just so the paint wouldn't start peeling off. I used my Cricut mat to measure the tumbler and give an estimate how big I wanted the name to be before cutting out my vinyl. For the name Tiffany, I used 3 of my scrap vinyl to cut out, since it's going to be hidden under the rhinestones anyways and it was a gift for my cousin. I was also working on another rhinestone tumbler where I didn't paint it and just left it how it was. Everyone has different equipments and rhinestones when doing any rhinestone project. For me, I purchased most of my stuff on Etsy. I will add in the descriptions of what I bought and where I bought it. I like to watch anime, TV shows, or at least have something playing in the background when I'm working. This is a rhinestone and glue holder tray someone made using their 3D printer that I purchased off Etsy. I like to use a needle tool to move or remove any rhinestones that I don't like where it's placed. I also use this small bottle to help apply my glue to the tumbler more easily. I'm just going to be refilling it before I start my project. The glue I use is Liquid Fusion. Sometimes it's hard to add the glue into the bottle, as you can see. I just used a wax pencil that came in a pack with different prints that was cheap off Amazon. You can also sharpen it whenever needed, just like a pencil. For this project, I mainly used jelly stones. The size rhinestone I use is 5mm to cover the whole tumbler, but I also bought some mixed of 2 to 5mm as fillers as well. To sort out my mixed rhinestone fillers, I purchased this 3D printed sorter from Crystalline. It does do a pretty good job at sorting my rhinestones for me. These are all the rhinestones and colors I used for this tumbler project. So I didn't record myself applying the white rhinestones on top of the names because I was using my phone to time how long it would take me from start to finish. Just for the name, it took a good 30 minutes since this was my second personalized name tumbler I made. But I do have other videos showing how I placed the rhinestones on the names if you would like to see how I did it. Since I already applied the white rhinestones on top of the vinyl name, I wanted to add a black outline around it so that the name would be readable and not get lost when the pink rhinestones were applied. I'm using the smallest rhinestone, which is the 2mm, and just applying it around the name and inside the letters as best as I can with my wax pencil. A tip I got when I first started was a little goes a long way. So when you're just starting out, a little glue will make it stick. But if you add too much glue to the rhinestone, the glue will overspill and cover the rhinestone, making it look unprofessional. I find that rhinestone is very therapeutic because you're just focusing on placing each stone on one by one and you have to decide if it fits to your liking or not. Though it does take a while to finish, it's a satisfying reward when you finish it because you accomplish something at the end. Once I finish placing all my 2mm stones, I leave it for a while to dry while I go cook or do something else. When I come back to it, I have a small hand that helps me inspect to make sure that nothing is falling off. You can see the paint strokes and some paint chipping off from me touching it when I was testing it to see if the paint was dried, but you won't notice these things once the tumbler is finished. Now I'm just going to be using just the 5mm to cover the whole tumbler. Some people like to start from the bottom of the tumbler, but I personally like to start from the top of the tumbler where the lid sits. Once I have my first row of rhinestone down, I like to flip the tumbler upside down and make sure everything is straight. Then I let it sit to fully dry so it doesn't move when continuing to add more rhinestones. After a while, I come back to check to see if the glue has fully dried by testing it to see if it slides off when I push it or touch it. Since the first row of rhinestones are fully secured, I can now start the long process of adding the rest of the 5mm rhinestones on top using the honeycomb method, which just means they're staggered on top of each other. When adding the rhinestones with the name already on the tumbler, I like to leave some space around the name and come back to it after I fully finish putting all the 5mm rhinestones on the tumbler. This is optional, but I wanted to add an acrylic star with my other logo name that I had someone cut out and engrave for me. I just tried to decide how high or low I wanted to place the acrylic logo charm before actually applying it. Since I wanted it a little lower, I added a couple more rows. I wanted it to be on the opposite side of the name, so I used my handmade pipe tumbler holder my dad made me to find where the name was going to be. Then I placed the acrylic where I thought was closest to the middle to me. I let the star sit for a while to fully dry before continuing, just in case it would slide off if I was to continue working on it. Once I felt like the star was dried enough, I continued to fill in the rest of the 5mm and work my way around the star. I find that sometimes the hard part about rhinestoning around the name is when it's time to connect the rows again at the end of the name. But I just do my best to eyeball and connect it as best as I can to make it look straight. The 5mm rhinestone wasn't fitting right towards the end, so I just took it off and left the gap for now. Sorting out the rhinestone isn't necessary, but I personally like to sort it out just so I can find the different sizes faster. Since I finished putting all the 5mm rhinestones around the tumbler, it's now time to fill in the areas I didn't put the rhinestones. I'm going to be using what they call the scattered method, which is just adding random sized rhinestones to make it fit in areas where it can fill in the empty spaces. This is how it looks once I finished and was satisfied with the area around the star. Now to finish around the name. I added some more 5mm on the table just to pick it up easier when I needed them. I find that the scatter method can be more time consuming than the honeycomb method, only because you have to think which one would fit best in the area and you can choose which size you want to put in place to fill it in. This usually becomes a sticky project when the rhinestones don't fit right and you have to take them off to put in a different size. There will be some areas where none of the smallest rhinestones will fit, so it's okay to have those empty little gaps. It just shows that it's handmade. This is one of my resin shaker coasters I made a while back. The inspiration came from the potion drink from Alice in Wonderland. I do not sell these at the moment, but maybe I will in the future. This was just a prototype. I needed a drink, so I got the Snickerdoodle Freeze from Dutch to help me finish the rest of the tumbler, even though I'm already almost done. This is how it looks all finished. Sometimes I like to go in and add a little more glue into the empty little gaps to make sure they don't randomly come off or if the glue looks like it wasn't evenly distributed. You don't have to do this, but it's personal preference and it isn't noticeable if you don't look too close to the rhinestones. But just don't add too much glue where it looks like you overspilled glue everywhere on it. There's always glue residue on the nozzle of the glue, so remember to clean it from time to time. I'm finished for the day, so now I'm just putting everything away. I didn't show the process of me making the other rhinestone tumbler, but I believe this is days or a week later. But I'm going to be showing you guys how I do the bottom of the tumblers as well. It's totally optional, but I like to do it to hide the bottom or just because I want to. I'm just using a UV lamp, a random silicone mold, and a silicone strang stick. You can use a popsicle stick as well. There are a few scratches of the paint peeling off or the brush strokes looking sloppy, but this is why I'm going to be covering the bottom so it won't be noticeable. These are the glitter colors I will be using to add to the bottom, along with the UV resin and Mod Podge. It's been a while since I used my Mod Podge, so it went everywhere when I opened it. I just used a random brush to apply the Mod Podge to the bottom where I wanted the glitter to be. For these two tumblers, I added glitter to the whole bottom to cover up the tumbler color and base. But for my other rhinestone tumbler videos, I just added inside the middle of the circle of the tumbler. When the first layer of glitter was dry, I added more Mod Podge on top to secure the glitter in place. Once the Mod Podge fully dried, I applied a thin layer of UV resin to the bottom to secure it even more. Then I put it in the UV lamp to cure it. This is how they look all finished. I didn't show how I put the QR code on the bottom, but I do have another video showing how I did it. When I'm done making the tumblers, I usually take off the protective film from the acrylic glass. Thank you for watching, and I hope this helps you or inspires you to make one of your own.